Copyright OffsideRelive Manchester United's 3-goal comeback against Crystal Palace in a thriller at Selhurst Park, courtesy of Sports Mole's minute-by-minute updates. By Joe Fish, ReporterFiled, Monday, March 5, 2018 at 1900 UKLast Updated, Monday, March 5, 2018 at 22:43 UK 7.00 p.m. IT is third from bottom against third from top tonight as Crystal Palace host Manchester United. Both sides will be hoping to have changed that by the time we are done at Selhurst Park, and Sports Mole will be with you all the way to discover to which end of the table the points go this evening. 7.02 p.m. Crystal Palace, Hennessey, Wan-Bissaka, Kelly, Tomkins, Aanholt, Townsend, McArthur, Milivojevic, Sclupp, Benteke, SorlothSubs, Cavalieri, Delaney, Jach, Souare, Riedewald, Rakip, Lee7.04pmMAN United, De Gea, Valencia, Lindelof, Smalling, Young, McTominay, Matic, Pogba, Lingard, Alexis, LukakuSubs, Pereira, Bailey, Darmian, Shaw, Carrick, Matic, Rashford7.06pmJesse Lingard is rewarded for his winning goal against Chelsea with a starting berth for United, with Anthony Martial dropping out in the only change from that big win over the defending champions. 7.08 p.m. There is a fourth start in a row in all competitions for young Scott McTominay as Mourinho persists with the 4-3-3 formation, which is destined to get the best out of the enigmatic Paul Pogba. 7.10 p.m. The Red Devils are still without Phil Jones, Marcos Rojo and Daley Blind in defense, so Victor Lindelof continues his longest run in the team despite a less than stellar first season at Old Trafford. 7.12 p.m. Mourinho will be itching to get Eric Bailly back in his 11 after a 3-month layoff with injury, but he is kept on the bench alongside Marcus Rashford, who has not started in the league in 2018. 7.14 p.m. Any name missing from the visiting substitutes is Martial, who has been involved in a league-high 6 goals as a substitute in 2017-18, so that is a weapon that Mourinho is without tonight. 7.16 p.m. In comparison, there is a serious lack of attacking firepower on the Palace bench, which is a mark of how badly the club are suffering with injuries. Roy Hodgson is without 9 senior players tonight, including key man Wilfried Zaha. The Eagles have not won a game that Zaha has missed this season. 7.18 p.m. Palace are boosted by the fact that Martin Kelly and Jeffrey Sclupp have recovered, and they come in for Riedewald and Timothy Fosu-Mensah, who is ineligible to face his parent club. 7.20 p.m. Sclupp's recall is likely to see the Eagles switch shape to a 4-4-2, with Christian Benteke and Alexander Sorloth partnered up top. The Norwegian has yet to score since his January arrival, while Benteke has only 1 goal in his last 9 outings, but they will pose a physical challenge to the United defense. 7.22 p.m. With a less than potent forward line, Luka Milivojevic is Palace's top league scorer with 7 goals. The midfielder, who captains the Eagles tonight, is lethal from the penalty spot, which makes him every fantasy football manager's favorite substitute. 7.24 p.m. Somebody who could be popular with fantasy football managers this week is Romelu Lukaku. The Belgian proved last week that he can be a big game player with a goal and an assist against former club Chelsea, and we already know the striker eats up teams like Palace for breakfast. 7.26 p.m. Lukaku has 5 goals in his last 7 matches against Palace, including the final strike in September's 4-0 thrashing of the Londoners at Old Trafford. The other goal scorers from that day, Marouane Fellaini, 2, and Juan Mata, are not in United's starting lineup this evening. 7.28 p.m. Head to head, that defeat was just one of 14 that Palace have suffered in 17 winless Premier League meetings with United, a record for most games against an opponent without winning. 7.30 p.m. However, Palace will not go into this game without hope, having given a really good account of themselves against the Premier League's big boys. Roy Hodgson's men have beaten Chelsea and are the only team to stop Manchester City from scoring this season, holding them to a 0-0 draw. 7.32 p.m. United's recent away form should also give Palace room for optimism. The Red Devils have failed to win any of their last 3 away matches, losing to Tottenham and Newcastle domestically and drawing with Sevilla in the Champions League. They were also scoreless in all of those games. 7.34 p.m. The Red Devils could lose 3 consecutive Premier League away games for the first time since January 1996. Mourinho himself has only endured such a run once before, at Chelsea back in 2006. 7.36 p.m. Mourinho has already led United to as many league victories this season, 18, as they managed in the whole of last campaign. It is difficult to immediately measure considering how far in front their noisy neighbours are 18 points after this weekend, but United have made improvements this term. 7.38pmAn Townsend will be pleased not to see Martial on the United team sheet tonight. He's still getting over this. Anthony Martial epic nutmeg versus Andros Townsend fire, see no evil. The England international has been involved in all but 2 of United's matches this season, but there is a danger that he could be crowded out at Old Trafford following the arrival of Alexis Sanchez. I'm sure a couple of clubs in the Premier League will be monitoring his situation. 7.42pm Speaking of Sanchez, United fans are still waiting for his career with the club to get going. He has got off the mark, albeit with a rebound from his own missed penalty against Huddersfield Town, but the Chilean has been far from his best as he continues to find his feet in this Mourinho team. 7.44pm It is not all about big money signings at United though, as they continue their outstanding track record of bringing through their own. McTominay is the latest talent through the ranks and is already reportedly at the centre of an international tug-of-war between England and Scotland. 7.46pm Palace have one of their own academy graduates in their starting lineup tonight, 20-year-old back Wan-Bissaka, who made his debut against Spurs last week. Talk about a baptism of fire. 7.48pm This injury hit Palace defence have failed to keep a clean sheet in 7 of his last 8 matches. In comparison, United and David De Gea lead the way with 15 clean sheets for the season. 7.50pm De Gea had a very rare off day last weekend, but his teammates played role reversal and bailed him out to knock off Chelsea. That result, coupled with Chelsea's surrender at Man City yesterday, means that United can go 9 points clear of the Blues tonight, and effectively seal a top 4 spot. 7.52pm However, United will be looking higher than 4th and can regain 2nd place from Liverpool with victory this evening. It looks like a showdown between the 2 fierce rivals to be distant runners-up to Pep Guardiola's side, although don't rule out Spurs, who are in a mid-season purple patch. 7.54pm Hodgson would take 17th if you offered it to him now. It is so tight down at the bottom and you would expect it to go down to the wire. Getting Zaha back fit is imperative to Palace's survival bid. 7.56pm Stat: The Eagles' last top-flight win over United came at Selhurst Park in May 1991, with Ian Wright scoring once and John Salico twice. They did beat United in the League Cup in 2011, with Antonio Valencia the only survivor from that day in the Red Devils lineup this evening. 7.58pm Prediction: It is never an easy game under the lights at Selhurst Park, but Palace are still crippled by injuries and United know how to get the job done in these situations. They are a physical side themselves, and have huge quality up front, so I expect them to win either 1-0 or 2-0. Min kickoff, Palace get the game underway and the home crowd is rocking as always. If you're a United fan looking for a good omen, United have the best Premier League record of any side in matches played on a Monday, winning 42 of their 61 games. 69%. 3 Min There has already been a couple of brutal aerial duels, with Sorloth flattening Pogba and Valencia giving Palace one back with a bit of an elbow on Van Aanholt. The hosts will not be shy of playing the ball direct up to their front two, but United need to show they won't be overwhelmed. 5 Min With Lindelof and Smalling have ugly s at Van Aanholt's early cross in towards Sorloth, and concede a corner from which Tomkins eventually sends the ball wide with an acrobatic overhead kick. They were nervy clearances from the United centre-backs and won't go unnoticed by Palace. 7 Min Save. Really important save from Hennessey as he rushes off his line and makes himself big, easier for some than others, to block a header which Lingard was attempting to lift over the Palace goalkeeper. Lukaku was involved in the build-up, where he has improved immeasurably of late. 9 Min Sanchez's narrow position is creating room for Young down the left, and his fizzed cross is turned away at the near post by Tomkins, who is back on his feet to head away the recycled ball. 1 Min Goal. Palace 1-0 Man United. Andros Townsend. 11 Min Hosts take a surprisingly early lead, with a big assist from the back of Lindelof. Benteke holds the ball up well and tees it up for Townsend, whose first-time shot from the edge of the box takes a junky deflection off the Swede and flies into the top corner. The shot would have been straight down to Jach's throat otherwise, but Townsend won't care and wheeled away to claim just his second of the season. 13 Min Mourinho won't be happy with United's defensive efforts for that goal, although it is not the unfortunate Lindelof to blame. Neither Young or Pogba followed the run of Townsend, who was able to run into space unchecked. That is the disadvantage of playing a natural winger in a back position. 15 Minway provided a good omen for United fans at kickoff. How's that working out so far? And now here is one for Palace supporters. Your team has won every league game in which they have scored first this season, albeit that has only been 3 times. They at least have something to hang on to here. 17-man Pogba slack pass in his own half concedes possession to Townsend, but the Frenchman recovers to chase down the goal scorer and block his cross at the expense of a corner which United do not defend convincingly. The ball nearly fell to McArthur at the near post after he got in front of Lindelof. 19-man shot. More sloppy play from United in their own half as Matic loses control of the ball and is then shoved off it by Sorloth. Lindelof slows the striker down but cannot stop him from getting a 20-yard drive away which De Gea holds low to his left. It is all Palace at the moment. 21-man Sanchez spots a clever chip over the top onto the chest of Lukaku, but a little nudge from Van Aanholt is enough to prevent the striker from working the ball into a shooting position. 23-man McTominay has a big decision on his horizon regarding his international future. He made the wrong decision here by attempting to feed Lukaku in behind when there was a better pass on to Sanchez in the left channel. The pass is overhead anyway, and Sanchez shows his frustration to the youngster. 25-man Hennessey has got away with a couple of flaps at crosses in the last 5 minutes. The last thing that Palace need now after working so hard for this lead is a howler from their goalkeeper. 27-man shot. Townsend is in one of his shooting moods tonight, and as soon as he wrong-foots Matic he lines up a 30-yard shot which is skied over the crossbar on his right foot. 29-man having had little joy over on the left in the opening half an hour, Sanchez has begun wandering to try to influence the game. He is now getting into central areas, but not close enough to Lukaku. 31-man Young has just nipped a promising Palace counterattack in the bud by absolutely poleaxing Townsend, and yet referee Niels Warbrick waves play on. Both of United's backs may be wingers by trade, but they have a nasty streak in them, and I don't know how Young got away with that one on first glance. 33-man Sorloth is having a far greater impact on this game than he did against Spurs last weekend. He looks far more at home through the middle and alongside Benteke. The 2 Palace front men are constantly occupying the United centre-backs. Did nobody tell Roy Hodgson that 4-4-2 was dead? 35-man You sense that Palace have changed their mentality in the past few minutes, and they now seem content to sit in and get to half-time. That has allowed United to start dominating possession, but so far they can't do much with it, as Pogba sends a spread of play over Valencia's head. 37-man Pogba's radar is well off so far tonight. A ball over the top intended for Lingard, who has not been involved in the game at all, is 2 clubs too heavy and goes out of play for a goal kick. 39-man Frenchman desperately throws himself to ground under the challenge of Wan-Bissaka in an attempt to buy United a penalty, after making a dart in from the left to reach Sanchez's pass. 41-man shot. Lingard wastes a good opening for United by dragging a 20-yard shot wide. Young was in acres of space on the left and there were bodies in the box for a cross. 43-man yellow. With Valencia caught out of position, McTominay is forced to put out a fire in the form of the breaking Sclupp, and is deservedly carded for a wild slide tackle. 45-man Young and Milivojevic both require treatment for a clash of heads but are back on their feet. There was due to be just a minute of added time, but this stoppage sets us up for a little more. 452-man halftime. Crystal Palace 1-0, United 8:52 p.m. The whistle blows and Palace are halfway towards their first ever Premier League win over United. And Ross Townsend's goal, with the aid of a big deflection off Lindelof, has given them the lead. 8:54 p.m. Although United were beginning to grasp control of proceedings prior to the interval, Palace deserved to be ahead on the balance of play. They have unsettled the visitors by going with 2 big men up front, and both Sorloth and Benteke have made it very uncomfortable for their defenders. 8:56 p.m. The Red Devils cannot blame a direct approach from Palace for their own lack of attacking threat though. They need to look at themselves for that, and it just hasn't been good enough from Pogba or Sanchez. The former looks disinterested, and the latter already regretful he's not at City. 9:00 p.m. Bench watch. I think this is a game for Juan Mata. There has been very little intricacy to United's passing, and it might take something in that mold to open up a Palace defense which is likely to get more and more compact as the match goes on. There's also Marcus Rashford in reserve. 9:02 p.m. The visitors are late coming out of the tunnel. Perhaps Jose has got stuck into them at half-time, and Sanchez should be a target of his fury. The Chilean gave the ball away a staggering 19 times in the first half. 46-man kickoff. The action is back underway and Mourinho has made a substitution, bringing on Rashford for McTominay in a change which will see United and Pogba revert to a midfield 2.48-man goal. Palace 2-0, Man United. Patrick Van Aanholt 48-man Palace are in dreamland as they hit United with a sucker punch early in the second half. While United switch off, Sclupp is alert to take a free kick quickly and release Van Aanholt down the left channel. The Dutchman drives into the penalty area and finishes confidently past De Gea at the near post. 50-min shot. Pogba takes aim from distance but is straight down the throat of Hennessey. 52-min Rashford, who is already looking lively on the United left, thinks that he has got the better of Wan-Bissaka, but the youngster recovers to make a well-timed tackle on the byline. 54-min Strangely, Pogba is having more of an attacking impact since the switch to a two-man midfield, and here he strides forward and takes on a left-footed shot which is deflected behind. 55-min goal. Palace 2-1, Man United. Chris Smalling, 55-min. Red Devils are back in the game through an unlikely source as Smalling heads Valencia's cute delivery back across Hennessey and into the bottom corner. Tomkins was not quick enough out after Palace had cleared the corner and the United defender was left unmarked at the back post. 57-min close. For the first time tonight, Wan-Bissaka has the confidence to get forward and his intended cross nearly catches out Gea, who has to tip the ball over his own crossbar. 59-min United are beginning to push Palace back and it might be time for Hodgson to sacrifice one of his front two to get another body in the middle of the park. January signing Rakip, on loan from Benfica, would be the most likely candidate to come on. 62-min Wan-Bissaka has made some important defensive interventions in this second half and again times his tackle perfectly on Rashford as the United forward burst into the area. To keep up with Rashford is one thing but to then time the tackle so cleanly is another. Palace may have found one here. 64-min Lukaku drops deep to get involved in the build-up, and Lukaku makes the run in behind which the Belgian finds. However, Pogba never got his body in a position to direct the ball goalwards. 66-min chance. Van Aanholt stands across up to the back post which Benteke powers a few yards wide of the post. He had to generate all of his own power, but that was a decent chance. 67-min save. The ball is teed up for Pogba, whose curling 20-yard shot is pushed away by Hennessey. 68-min substitutions. Mourinho makes a very attacking double changes. Luke Shaw and Matic come on for Young in Valencia. Lingard has been asked to move over to the right, but I don't think he will be doing much defending in this last quarter of the game. 70-min on other half chance falls Benteke way in the air, but he never got over this header. 72-min Lukaku and Lingard was the combination which won it for United against Chelsea, and it nearly works again here as Lukaku peels off to the right to deliver a cross which glances off the midfielder's head. 74-min off the line. Benteke has been criticized for a lack of goals this season, but this intervention is worth just as much. The ball falls to Matic at the back post from a corner, and he rifles a low shot through a crowd of bodies, only for Benteke to turn the ball away off his own line. The United players turned to Niels Warbrick, but there was nothing from the goal line technology. 76-min goal. Palace 2-2, Man United. Romelu Lukaku, 76-min. The United comeback is two-thirds complete as Lukaku continues his fine scoring record against Palace. Kelly partially blocks a shot from Sanchez, with the ball looping up against the crossbar and falling to Lukaku, who keeps his cool as bodies dived in front of him to bury a shot past Hennessey. 78-min save. Add this one to the De Gea collection. Just as Palace were threatening to fold, Benteke towers above Smalling to power a header down and towards the bottom corner, but the Spanish stopper dives across to claw the ball away at stretches only he can. 80-min substitution. Hodgson introduces some much-needed fresh legs in the form of Riedewald as Sclupp, who was excellent on return from long-term injury, comes off exhausted. 83-min Palace threatened to turn this game on its head again as substitute Riedewald delivers a hopeful ball into the area which a tired McArthur fails to bring under control on the penalty spot. 85-min Mourinho affords himself a chuckle as he accidentally kicks a water bottle into the ground on his way back to his dugout. He won't find the situation his United side are in very funny as Lindelof needlessly concedes a free kick which Matic heads clear. 87-min You would think that Palace would settle for a draw at this stage, and, even if Hodgson is privately thinking that, his players are not showing it. They are still giving as good as they are getting. 89-min Townsend wrestles away from Sanchez on the edge of the United box, some North London bad blood there, but is prevented from getting a shot away by a desperate Lingard clearance. 91-min goal. Palace 2-3, Man United. Nemanja Matic, 91-min Palace hearts are broken, but Matic has just come up with a goal which is worthy of winning any game. It sits up perfectly for the Serbian 25 yards from goal, and he slices across his volley to swerve the ball away from Hennessey and into the top corner to spark wild celebrations from the United players. 9:03 min full time. Crystal Palace 2-3, Man United 10:03 p.m. What a time and way for Nemanja Matic to score his first Manchester United goal, completing a comeback which restores them to second in the table, but will be a massive kick in the gut for Palace. They will be able to reflect fondly on their efforts, but the Eagles will be devastated right now. 10:05 p.m. That's it from our live coverage, but you can still read our match report on a thriller at Selhurst Park. Thanks for joining Sports Mole tonight, and be sure to join us again for this week's Champions League games. If they are as good as this one, we're in for a treat. Until then, goodbye. Read next, Combined 11, Man United vs. Chelsea. Enter your email address to subscribe to Sports Mole's free daily transfer newsletter. Sent twice a day during the transfer window.